Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Stationery, brought to you by your stationery friends here at JetPens.com. I'm Josh.
And I'm Jen. Today's episode is all about back to school. We're going to talk a little bit about our college years, share some stationery kits that we picked out for this upcoming school year, and answer some questions from the comments.
As always, you can find links to all the products in the description below. All right, let's get talking. I started college over a decade ago, and I graduated in like 2014.
Oh, you graduated before I even entered college.
Oh, serious? Oh my god, that's how old I was.
I started college in 2016. So, and then I graduated.
Oh wow, 2 years after.
Yes,
Dang.
I graduated 2 years ago.
I guess we kind of went to school in like different time like periods for, I don't know if you want to like compare like analog versus digital, because like nowadays everybody has their laptops, right?
Mm-hmm. I guess a good
like,
marker would be like when you started college, the iPad hadn't been invented yet.
Oh, oh, oops! Don't say that. But is that really?
Yeah, but I know. Yeah. I remember the iPad was definitely out when, like, after 2010.
Back when I started college, there was like maybe 20% of people using laptops because they could afford it. But the rest of us were note-taking by hand still. This was also before like teachers would make their lesson plans or like their notes available online. Like we had to sit through like slideshows.
Mm-hmm. And then you couldn't download the presentation before class.
No, you couldn't. So we had to copy everything by hand. Yeah, so I was a multimedia arts major. So essentially half of my school years were traditional art, and then the other half was all digital art.
Okay, so your experience was more balanced with like stationery and non-stationery.
Yeah. Like it's funny. I think they had us do traditional art first because then it would translate better to digital. Because then you're like, oh, that tool is like doing this technique.
Yeah, I was a business major, which is, I guess business majors don't really use art supplies or like stationery much, but at least like I still had a notebook and I wanted to have stuff that looked nice.
That's funny with like how much art you do and stuff like that. I would not have pegged you for a business major.
Yeah, so actually my freshman year in winter quarter, I took a life drawing art class just because I wanted to, not because it was like an actual. I found out later during the course that it didn't fulfill any of my graduation requirements, so I was kind of bummed. So the life drawing class that I took in freshman year, I actually met one of our current coworkers in that class, and now we're both here at JetPens.
Wow, that's so like small world. Like it's weird how like the world sometimes feels so big and sometimes it just feels so small.
So now Josh and I are going to talk about if we were going to go back to school, what would we put in our backpacks? So to start off with pencils, I would want a Pentel Sharp Carry. Actually have one right here. This is the one that I kept with me in college for a couple years. So it's a capped mechanical pencil. And then once you take off the cap, you could post it. And then you just press the back to extend the lead. It's very classy. It looks very nice. Yeah,
it's really cool. I like how like the extension of the like cap clicking into the back of the pencil, like that's so cool. Like what made them
like
think
you don't
of that?
actually need the cap to extend it, but like when you put the cap on, it pushes the top of the cap up so that it just becomes the.
Yeah, it's like just an extension. Yeah.
Okay, what about you, Josh?
I am very heavy-handed. Like I say it all the time in videos, so I strongly recommend the Zebra Delc Guard. I have just the regular ones, but if I were to go back to school and I'm a product of my time, but if I was taking analog notes, I would want something more comfortable. So there's the Type GR that comes with a very ergonomic and comfortable grip. And I had no idea what it was when I bought it, but this is the same eraser that I've been using since college. And it's actually the Huarang, what is it? Design art eraser.
Oh.
Yeah,
Wow.
like I had no idea what it was when I bought it.
Okay. Moving on to pens. If I needed to choose a pen for school, I would go with the Uni Jetstream Alpha Gel Grip Ballpoint Pen. So, and then of course, Uni Jetstream is unparalleled. Nothing can beat the Uni Jetstream, personally. Like, I have friends who say like, oh, I don't like ballpoint pens. Ew, they're so bad. And then I give them a Uni Jetstream and they're like, oh, this is actually really nice. And I'm like, yeah, Uni Jetstream superiority.
In fairness, I hate using ballpoints as well. But the Uni Jetstream is pretty much the only exception for me because it's like the closest to a gel pen I could get from a ballpoint. Did you have any other ones?
Yes. I also, if you prefer to have gel pens and if you like writing notes in colors, Uniball Signo UM151, that's my go-to. Like, every time if I took a trip to Asia with my parents, I would go to the stationery store, I would see what Unisigno UM151s I didn't have yet, and I would just like buy all of them.
Yeah, I love like the color selection that they have. It's such a like vast selection. And then also with tip sizes too, right?
0.28 millimeter, 0.38, and then 0.5. And then I know some people, they're like Zebra Sarasa or Signo UM151, but I'm in the UM151 gang because I like capped pens better.
That's fair. I like retractable ones, which is why I'm in the Sarasa or Sarasa side. For me, it's like the same thing over and over again. I'm like a broken record, but like my favorite pen is the Zebra Sarasa Mark-On. Nowadays more because I tend to use highlighting for color coding. So yeah, having a gel pen that can pretty much be highlighted by anything is priceless. Yeah, and then when I was in college, I would also use uni pin pens all the time for like permanent ink pens. But recently, I was gifted a set of Sakura Pigma Microns, so that's what I've been using more lately. So I would recommend either one of those.
Even though I'm not a huge highlighter person, if I were to go back to school today, I think I would want the Kokyo Mark Plus two-way marker pens because they're color coordinated already. So there's a fine liner tip on one end, and then on the other end is a chisel tip. The chisel tip is one color, and then the fine liner tip is either a matching slightly darker color of it, or it's a gray tinted color of it. So they're already matching. So you don't have to color coordinate like other pens that you already have. It's a 2-in-1.
That's so funny. I have the exact same pick.
And then if I had to choose another pick, they're not exactly highlighters, but they can be used as highlighters, and they're actually pretty good. They don't smear that many pens. I like the iconic two-way marker pens. I really like the retro colors. They're subdued, and then they're double-sided. So there's a chisel tip on one end, and then a fine tip on the other. So I'm very picky when it comes to pen cases. I want something that's really big and roomy because I have a hoarding problem, and I have too many pens. So I want a pen case that's doesn't have to be super big, but like it has a lot of space, so I could put at least like 15 to 20 pens in there. So I would personally go with the Lee Hit Lab All Clea because it's really big. It's like a pouch, and then also you can put your phone in the back. So I like cases that I could just like put my phone inside because sometimes I want an extra hand when I'm walking to class. I could just like shove it into my case.
I have two picks. First off, like some sort of standing pen case. I have the Sunstar Del Day Slide, but this is a discontinued version. For like any classes that I'm like note taking, I would bring this and then just have it on my desk. But being an art major, I would also need something to hold like art supplies. So I would recommend the Velos tin. I would get like several of these, and you can has like different markers, or like for a while I had a drawing like setup in here. So I had my Del Guards, I had my old Knock Eraser, and then I had a bunch of Pigmas, Pigma Microns, and then I would just bring that in a notebook with me wherever I went.
Okay, let's talk about notebooks, binders, sketchbooks, paper. My top pick would be Kokyo Campus paper. You can never go wrong with that. And then I did say that I didn't like binders before, but I do like binder notebooks because they're basically notebooks, but with the convenience of a binder. So the Smart Ring 60 binder notebooks are really nice. Yeah, so campus paper, especially Sarasa paper, it's really smooth, but it also has some nice texture to it, and it's fountain pen friendly. So basically, you can use anything on it, and it probably won't bleed.
That's funny. My recommendation is the same, but I would probably toss the Sarasara paper into maybe like a Maruman Kuru fit. I kind of like how the rings are enclosed in the binder cover. I do like the Campus Smart Ring, but sometimes it's like it just looks neater, like to me, the Maruman Kuru fit.
Our other videographer uses a Tefrenu.
Videographer-san, would you like to talk about it?
You can just watch my video.
Oh, there you go. Okay, we'll link to the video. I don't remember which side. For me, the only thing that I would like to add, well, I guess two things, would be the King Jim plus craft file covers. Reason being is, I don't know nowadays, but when I was in college, we would get handouts. So like, they would, or printouts, which would usually be on either, what's it called? A4 or, what's the American version?
Letter size.
Letter size. Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm just so used to the Asian version, or the rest of the world, I should say. A4. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I would want a sketchbook of some sort. So there's the Stillman and Byrne softcover sketchbooks that I was looking at, and then I would get the Epsilon version because I kind of for like sketching, I prefer smooth style paper. If I wanted to do like mixed media or like wet media, I'd probably go for like the Maruman New Soho. So next up, we have planners.
I don't really use planners that often nowadays. I just get them because I think they're cute and I like having one each year. But if I were to get one that was like dedicated to school again, I would go with the Mark's Weekly Academic Planner. Yeah, so the planner is weekly, which I think weekly is the best if you're a student because you get to see like, especially if you're in like quarter system, you will really care about what week you are in school. So you get to see the week at a glance. And then also it's vertical. So you can like block out each hour of your time. You can kind of imagine it's like Google Calendars, but in your planner. I also like that it's like minimalist looking inside.
Yeah, I also don't use planners. So if I had to pick one, I would probably want something that's like undated. That's the word. Undated. Yeah, I would want an undated planner of some sort. So like the Hobonichi Day Free would make me not feel as stressed to have to fill out each day. Something that I also found really interesting was the Kokyo Patmi. Because I kind of like having just like a monthly calendar, but then because that thing like opens up, it gives you like a weekly kind of format, right? And then it's like, it's very flat because it's only 1 month, and then you would grab another one and it comes in a pack of 3. So it's, if you don't have a lot of space for a planner, I would probably just grab the Kokyo Patmis. And then you could toss it in your King Jim plus craft file cover.
Okay. Finally, we have backpacks. So this is actually my personal donut macaroon backpack. I took photos for these actually, and then when I saw that it was pink and blue, especially the gradation, was like, okay, I need to buy this, even though I'm not in school anymore.
Yeah, it's really nice.
So if I were going to go back to school, I would get this one.
For me, if I was picking a backpack from our site, I might go with the Marterman sketch bag, just because it's a little more targeted towards artists. And it has a laptop holder. Like that's really all I'm looking for. Laptop holder and can hold my art supplies. All right, so I have some questions from some of the commenters. So the first one is how to save space with a small backpack.
It's a pretty good question. I'd say just pack your essentials only. And then if your essentials are still too bulky, just condense what you have. For example, like if you have 4 notebooks for 4 classes, combine them, maybe just use 1 or 2 notebooks and then dedicate each notebook to like 2 or 3 classes even.
I think binder notebooks would be a good point in this one, because then you could just bring one with a bunch of loose leaf and then take your notes on separate sheets of paper and then reorganize it later into separate notebooks. More on that note, I think I would recommend using like multi-use items. So like double-sided markers, multi-pens, stuff like that, just to like reduce the amount of pens that you're bringing with you.
Next question, Josh. What is your personal favorite pen?
I think everyone knows already. I'll give you 2 seconds.
Starts with a Z.
It's the Sarasa Mark-On. Because I just use this every single day. Like, this is my everyday pen. On a sentimental note, I have a very old Parker pen. This was my dad's, and it was gathering dust amongst his stuff that he didn't touch anymore, so I just took it. And I looked up the manufacturer date for this one, and this one is from the 90s.
My personal favorites, I already mentioned it in the pen section. My go-to gel pen is the Uni Signo UM151. I have every single color, like every single one. And then if I run out of ink for any of them, I just buy another one. And then for ballpoint pens, the Uni Jetstream Alpha Gel Grip, the ballpoint pen.
So the next question asks, what's your favorite Franken-pen? So my favorite one is actually back to the Parker Jotter, my dad's Parker Jotter. I actually put a Jetstream refill in here. I have the 0.5 millimeter refill in here, but it's a little on the thinner side for me, so I kind of want to change it to the 0.7 millimeter.
So I personally don't have any Franken pens because I usually don't mix and match things. But our CEO, Shu, she likes to put the Fisher Space Pen refill in an Auto-Raise flash dry body.
Oh.
So she gets a bigger pen body, but she gets the same pressurized ink. Because if you've never used a Fisher Space Pen before, they're pretty tiny, especially if you don't post them. But the Auto-Raise flash dry, it's like basically very similar to the Parker Jotter in size. And then luckily the Fisher Space Pen refill, it comes with a little adapter, so you can actually put it inside larger pens.
And that's all we have for today. You can find mine and Jen's back to school starter kits in the description below.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.
It's pee-pee.
I'm gonna spell it out on camera just so people know.
His name is Pee-pee. Or specifically, he's Cowpea. He squeaks. Wait.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, here, okay. I think this is more peachy. It's like a novelty toy.
So this is a very large Mew pop vinyl from Funko. Yeah, you want to see it? Yeah, the normal ones are like yay big. So this one is a lot larger. I randomly saw it at Target and I was like, that's mine. I have to have it. But yeah, they've been in multiple videos now. But finally introducing my Mew.